So I'm just going to give a little commentary. We can just stay very meditative. What we're talking about here when we say the wheel of Dharma is movement of a certain type of high-level energy that passes through consciousnesses and enters into individual mind streams, such as our own. When these high energy movements happen into our own mind stream, it breaks through our conditioned thoughts. So our habitual patterns, our personal agendas, personal stories, the habitual human ways that we all think and process information is broken through. Some people experience these realizations as a moment of not knowing anything. Because when these movements of high energies come into mind streams, they actually collapse the personal mind, which is needed for true realization. Because true realization is beyond conceptual mind. It has to bypass or transcend mental activity. So that when a master enlightened being, a very high teacher, gives sacred instructions or sacred teachings, they're not using language in the same way as we normal humans use language. They're not using language as a result of learning language from an exterior source. They're using language as a vehicle to carry wisdom mind. So what they're imparting to all of us is aspects of wisdom mind. The awakening itself can be looked at as going from having personal mind and believing personal mind and acting from personal mind to being more merged with higher mind. It's also called wisdom mind. Some people call it ground of being. Some people call it clear light. It has many names. Inherent in it is a certain wisdom that is more energetic, fluid, unopinionated, does not assess, does not process. It's perfectly in the present. It has a power. It is knowledge from a higher realm or realms. When we connect with this wisdom, higher mind collective, we actually no longer need the personal mind in the same way we were depending on it before. So many people, when they have the realization that cut through, the sacred teaching is given and it cuts through our personal mind, it allows us to create space from our belief systems, our opinions, the knowledge that we may have been so sure of. It also allows us to create space from our emotions that arise from our belief systems. And that's the beginning, or some level, of the collapse of actually the personal self itself. Because many of us are so identified with our belief systems and our feelings and our opinions and assessment that we take those things for who we are. So when a wheel of Dharma teaching comes through and breaks through, penetrates that kind of bubble, that story of our world that we all live in, the personal self begins to shatter. And that's what we're talking about when we talk about the path of seeing. We're coming into a state of recognizing that phenomena around us is empty of value. It inherently does not exist by itself. We give it the value it has. It means something to us individually, and is very diversified in its meaning and value to each of us. Realization, Wheel of Dharma Sacred Teachings, transmission, which has the power of higher mind, of wisdom mind, gives us a perspective through which it is revealed we don't need to rely on our personal opinions. They're actually not that important in the larger scope of universal mind. And it's at that point that we can drop our assessments, our opinions, can drop our wounds. Transmissions are very powerful in their healing abilities. Things that may have been upsetting us or we have been feeling hurt from for years or decades or even lifetimes are healed, as it said in these teachings, within 15 minutes of hearing a sacred teaching. It heals sadness. It heals grief. And that's why Vajrayana, which does the same thing in terms of transmission, is considered very powerful. It quickens our path. In Hindu gurus rely very much on transmissions to their students to quicken the awakening of their students. There's many stories of students awakening in an instant or a few minutes because of something their teacher did or said. There's a certain energetic that gets transmitted that moves like a wheel into the mind stream. So transmission is very important on the path, and it requires a certain level of openness, of confidence, actually. We need a certain level of confidence to be able to receive transmissions. If we are cynical, if we are skeptical, the transmission will not be able to penetrate through. We won't give it a chance. And this moves into the mystical side of the path, where devotion, love, kindness, are qualities that open us up, are qualities that overcome whatever cynicism might be inside us. So when we have love, devotion, kindness, generosity, we're more open to receiving these higher energies of wisdom mind, these sacred teachings, these movements, these wheels. One thing masters, very evolved beings will teach is in these realizations, which are often realizations creating clarity. Clarity around what awakening actually is, what the attitudes are, what the views are. They're views of positivity, of love, of confidence. And teachers will speak about this, explaining that in these realizations we're seeing things as they really are. So in the path of seeing, which is often described this way, it's described as a realization, a state where we see things as they really are. It's a state of recognizing there's only kindness, there's only love, there's only compassion, which again helps heal us, because then it makes it easier to disregard the personal mind's encouragement to be mad, angry, jealous, depressed, anxious, unhappy. Those qualities are considered delusional in Buddhism. Unreality. They're not real. But we make them real because we have belief systems about them. The mind has the ability to justify poisons such as anger, justified anger. In states of realization, we recognize that anger actually doesn't exist in the way that we believed it did, and we drop it. We let go of emotions that we were either taught or carried into this life from past lives, or emotions that we've relied on as coping mechanisms. So this teaching is really a teaching around transmission, explaining what transmission truly is and the power of transmission. It has the power to awaken us, to liberate us. If we are ready to receive transmission, if we are ready to have divine intervention come in to impact and quicken our path, then transmissions will be presented to us through sacred teachings that find their way to us, teachers, retreats, nature. situations that may seem external from us, but are actually wisdom, higher mind working through us inwardly. And to understand that in more depth means that we understand everything that we experience is actually happening inwardly. Everything is mind itself. Invocations that happen with our devotion and practice and exercises towards higher beings, deities, saints, angels. Invocations, what we are invoking are transmissions, transmission energy that does this exact cutting through. Taking us out of how we think the world works, how we think we work, and putting us in a completely new reality and understanding. So we can invoke transmissions. We can invoke sacred teachings. Again, everything is inward. It's all already there, inside of us. Christ consciousness, Buddha nature, is inherent within us. And we can invoke it to arise and offer realizations for us to receive. And this is one entrance into states of samadhi, states of unimaginable bliss and joy, where we recognize nothing is wrong. And there's a deep sense of celebration. A deep welling up of happiness, which is our entitlement as spirit. Suffering can be called the lack of realization, the lack of recognizing what is real. When we've had continuous realizations, they start to become normalized. Transmission can then be recognized as happening all the time. There is always transmission happening. And our consciousness, when our personal mind is more pliable, more open, we become directly connected to wisdom mind. And we stay connected. We become established in wisdom mind. And it is at this point that we no longer experience the poisons, anger, depression, anxiety, negative emotions, low self-esteem, self-reproach. These qualities no longer exist for us. Some teachers refer to this as finding out or rediscovering who we really are. We are this wisdom mind. Everything is healed by it and through it. And sacred teachings, certain practices, Vajrayana, Guru Yoga, deity practice, devotional exercises, contemplative prayer, are all ways we connect. Open up the doorway to transmission from collective higher mind. This movement is often referred to as moving into our higher self, or becoming one with the deity who is us, one with us.